1961, which leads to October Southern Cameroon. The flag of Southern Cameroon is made up of 1961, which leads to October Southern Cameroon. The flag of Southern Cameroon is made up of 1961, which leads to October Southern Cameroon. The flag of Southern Cameroon is made up of 1961, which leads to October Southern Cameroon. The flag of Southern Cameroon is made up of 1961, which leads to October Southern Cameroon.
This land of glory, we the AMBAZONIA.
They have a national anthem, their own flag, and a leader in waiting. All the trappings of a potential new country, but without any land. Because what these people want to call Ambazonia is the English-speaking part of Cameroon. It's here that demonstrations have gathered momentum in the last year by people saying they suffer discrimination at the hands of the French-speaking government. Most people just want reforms, but calls for outright independence are getting louder.
We are Ambazonians. We don't need anything again. The only solution to the matter is let the government solve this problem by giving our independent freedom.
At the end of the First World War, Cameroon was divided between the French and the British. At its independence in 1961, the English speakers opted to join French Cameroon instead of neighbouring Nigeria. The protests have been mainly peaceful, but Cameroon's 6 protesters were shot dead last year and hundreds arrested. In an apparent gesture of reconciliation, President Paul Biya ordered that charges be dropped against several detainees. But that doesn't seem to have calmed tensions. The man who's calling for a peaceful uprising.
We call for a non-violent revolution. We call for a non-violent protest. We call for a non-violent march. This is what we are demonstrating to the world, and we have resisted Mr. Biya's army of occupation in our land, but this is a moment that we must continue to stand firm.
Of this nation.
The UN Secretary-General has asked Cameroon's government to address the grievances of the English speakers. But the UN is unlikely to answer Mr. Taba's prayers for a new country called Ambazonia.
A difference of languages in Cameroon turns violent. English speakers are demanding an end to what they say is discrimination by the French-speaking majority. Some are even calling for independence. So what does this mean for Cameroon's unity? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Elizabeth Paradam. Secession. It's been the talk of the week from the Kurdish region of Iraq to Catalonia in Spain, and on Sunday, English-speaking parts of Cameroon joined the trend by demanding their own independence. Police shot and killed at least 8 people in the western regions of the country. Power was also cut and remains out. The rallies took place on the very day Cameroon's English and French regions had united 56 years earlier. There have been protests like this for nearly a year, but until recently, they had only called for reforms. Cameroon's English-speaking minority say they're being marginalised by the French-speaking majority. Well, the government has been criticised for its lack of response to months of protests, but President Paul Biya responded to Sunday's protests, saying, "Let me make this very clear. It's not forbidden to voice any concerns in the Republic. However, nothing great can be achieved by using verbal excesses, street violence and defying authority. Lasting solutions to problems can be found only through peaceful dialogue." But critics of the government say it's shunned dialogue throughout this conflict, allowing it to grow and escalate. We'll get to our guests in just a moment, but first, Mohammed El Bardisi has this report.
Hail this land of glory, we the AMBAZONIA.
They have a national anthem, their own flag, and a leader in waiting. All the trappings of a potential new country, but without any land. Because what these people want to call AMBAZONIA is at the moment the English-speaking part of Cameroon. It's here that demonstrators have gathered momentum in the last year by saying that people suffer discrimination at the hands of the French-speaking government. Most people just want reform, but calls for outright independence are getting louder.
We are AMBAZONAs. We don't need anything again. The only solution to the matter is let the government solve this problem by giving our independent freedom.
At the end of the First World War, Cameroon was divided between the French and the British. At its independence in 1961, the English-speaking opted to join the French Cameroon instead of neighboring Nigeria. These protests have been mainly peaceful, but Cameroon's security forces have cracked down. 6 protesters were shot dead last year and hundreds arrested. In an apparent gesture of reconciliation, President Paul Biya ordered that the charges be dropped against several detainees. But that doesn't seem to have calmed the tensions. The man who leads the separatists has been touring the U.S. calling for a peaceful uprising.
We call for a non-violent revolution. We call for a non-violent protest. We call for a non-violent march. This is what we are demonstrating to the world, and we have resisted Mr. Biya's army of occupation in our land, but this is a moment that we must continue to stand firm.
The UN Secretary General has asked Cameroon's government to address the grievances of the English speakers. But the UN is unlikely to answer Mr. Taba's prayers for a new country called AMBAZONIA. Mohammed El Bardisi, Al Jazeera.
We'll talk to our guests in a moment, but first we're joined on the line from Cameroon's capital, Yaoundé, by the former minister, Dr. Elvis Ngole. Dr. Ngole, just how worried should the government be right now by the calls for an independent AMBAZONIA?
I'm not, as a citizen of Cameroon and an English-speaking citizen, it's concerning that there are some people referring to themselves as Ambazonians. As far as I'm concerned, I'm English-speaking, but I don't identify with the concept of Ambazonia. And I think that while the concept of Ambazonia is an opinion by certain or some English-speaking persons, I'm not one of those who identifies with that, and I think that it is a wrong opinion. It is an opinion or a point of view which is against the Constitution of Cameroon. It is an opinion and a movement which is against the United Nations Charter and the work of the United Nations. And I think it is an opinion which is against the collective will and the collective conscience of all the people of Cameroon in general, and the majority of English-speaking Cameroonians in particular.
But we are seeing protests calling for an independent AMBAZONIA from some people, and there are those who say that it would never have got this far if their grievances over being marginalised, over being disadvantaged for speaking English were addressed. Right now, we are seeing the killing of protesters and the shutting down of internet services. Why has the government responded this way to these grievances?
The first thing is that there's only one independence in Cameroon, and that independence, you know, and everyone knows, and the United Nations has registered it. Cameroon does not have two independence dates. And any group of Cameroonians, be they English-speaking or French-speaking or whatever, they cannot claim that they have another independence date. That will be tantamount to a rebellion against the republic and against established laws.
But
as far as the grievances that have been raised by some because they feel marginalized, you know as much as I know, or as well as I know, that yes, people are right to have grievances. I think it's legitimate to have grievances. Whether the grievances are based on marginalization or feelings of injustice or lack of equity or whatever, it is normal and legitimate for people to have grievances. But what do you do with grievances when you have them? I think that you channel the grievances within the framework of the law, within the framework of the values of your republic, and in conformity with both national and international norms. In the present case, the case of those who want to have what they call their independence.
And Dr. Angole, you're just about to meet with the Prime Minister. What are you going to be discussing? What should he be addressing right now?
Well, we are always having meetings because as citizens who are concerned and who have concerns, we have meetings at all levels. Look, I'm just back from from the Southwest region, which is one of the two English-speaking regions, the 10 regions of Cameroon. And we've always had meetings at all levels with all kinds of people. And these meetings are to discuss with our compatriots, fellow compatriots, as to the questions and the problems of the day, including those who think that they have a reason to succeed. I believe that the meetings we're having in Yaoundé or out of Yaoundé are all meetings intended to reinforce our union and our unity, to reinforce our sense of belonging and living together, and to make sure that if there are any divergences of opinion, we try to talk with each other in order to find some common ground and in order to help the government and accompany the government in finding durable solutions to the questions and the problems raised.
All right, Dr. Angole. We thank you very much for your time, Dr. Angole. We appreciate it very much. Thank you for your time, Elvis Angole, joining us from Yaoundé. Well, let's bring in our panel now. In Nairobi, Ans-Marie Ongu, who is Cameroon analyst at the International Crisis Group. Joining us on Skype from Budapest, Albert Chinder, who's a political blogger focusing on Cameroon, and in London, Michael Amoa, associate of the Africa International Affairs Programme at the London School of Economics. Welcome to you all. Mr. Chinder, Anglophones were out on the streets on Sunday, some of them calling for an independent AMBAZONIA. Just how realistic is that, given that decades of calls for greater autonomy haven't resulted in anything?
Well, I think the call for secession by the majority of people on the streets yesterday in Cameroon is legitimate, I could say, but it's not the realistic solution to the problem. It's legitimate because the government has promoted this, because the reaction from the government has been brutal, it has been repression, it has been avoiding dialogue, and it has been arresting and detaining most of the leaders. So I think it's very, very legitimate because the concerns of marginalization by the Anglophone community is very, very real. And I think the government is supposed to come back to dialogue on this. I think it is not late for everybody to come back on the stance of federalism, which was the first demand by the Anglophone community when this protest broke out last year. I think the demand for federalism is still legit, and it's the best viable solution for us to return to a dialogue table with a neutral third party, probably the UN, the African Union, or ECOWAS, to mediate on this, because the government cannot mediate on this crisis when they have been the first people responsible for the escalation. So they can't be the judge or the mediator for the same crisis they caused.
Mr. Amon, let me bring you in now. What have you made of the government response to the latest protests, not dissimilar to their response to protests earlier this year? And is there are the conditions on the ground? Do they exist now for talk of federalism when that hasn't happened in decades?
Well, I think
The difficulty that the secessionist movement have at the moment is that they are not operating on a level political field. You know, the government is quite writ large, and if they're being opposed, then it's very difficult for them actually to articulate their views. It doesn't quite appear that they have managed to actually get their views across to the UN Security Council, because that is the main international body that can actually authorize or even officiate any serious talks towards secession.
Ansda Marie Ongu, let me bring you in now. Where is the international community on this?
Let us say we have been quite concerned at the International Crisis Group by what we have qualified as a kind of measured response of the international community. We think, given what happened yesterday, Sunday, there is a need to strengthen and more better coordinate the response of the international community. Since the beginning of this crisis in October 2016, we have seen a government who has not been responsive to the demands of the Anglophone, including some which are not necessarily what they qualify as terrorism, the demand for federalism, or even the demands for an effective and extended decentralization, not just regarding the Anglophone regions of Cameroon, but regarding the entire nations. And we think today that it is time for the international community to act in a very strong way in order to avoid a possible, an irreversible deterioration of the situation on the ground that we are currently observe with more and more people within the secessionist trend of the Anglophone movement would think that it is time for them to think about violent means to reach their goal.
Mr. Chinda, you know, the government will say that about those violent means, that the protests, that the movement is a threat to national security. You know, they use the word extremists and terrorists. What do you make of that?
Well, I think the government qualified this in the most silly terms, because Boko Haram is the real threat to national security. The Anglophone crisis has been a time bomb for a long time. And the reason for this is because the government has avoided dialogue. Extremism is seen right now by so many people because this is the only way some people could express their views. So many people try to express them peacefully by protesting. They've been shot and killed. We have elected officials who died yesterday from an effect of this. I mean, so many people have expressed their views and their demands through the most peaceful means possible. But they have been arrested and locked down. I mean, even writing an article on the crisis could get you in jail. So many people have been pushed to the wall, and they are reacting in these extreme conditions, which we condemn. They are very wrong, but the government is supposed to create conditions for reconciliation. The first condition to reconcile with the people is for the government to release every person from prison, release the people, and call for a roundtable dialogue involving the secessionists, involving those in support of a unitary state, and those in support of federalism. And I think we can map out a good solution from this, because it's our heritage, it's our nation. And the best thing for us to do is to get back to 1961, the era when we reunited these two people, and look for the best solution for each Cameroonian. And the best solution for the Anglophone community is the federal system, where they could have their voices heard without Yaoundé dictating to them.
But Mr. Chinda, since that hasn't happened in so many decades, what needs to happen now? I mean, you've talked about the involvement of the international community. Is that what has to happen? What could change things?
That's the only solution we could talk of right now, which is viable and which is reasonable. Why am I saying this? Because first of all, we cannot expect the government of Paul Biya to mediate on this crisis, to judge this crisis, because they would come with a condition of one and indefeasible. And they shouldn't come to the table to dialogue with preconditions. It should be a fair dialogue. It should be open. It should even be a televised dialogue for the nation to participate. And the best people or the best body should be the UN, ECOWAS, or the African Union to mediate on this crisis and have a fair and balanced view from all sides and come to a solution to ensure the nation could live in peace.
Mr. Amor, what about the powers that be where you are? It is the Anglophones that have been disadvantaged. Do the British still have a responsibility? Have they abandoned the Anglophones, as some see it?
It is doubtful. I don't think that the British have any responsibility at the moment because the Anglophone Cameroon is largely a Francophone country, and usually when there are cases like this, it is sent to the Francophonie rather than the Commonwealth, and the Francophonie is Francophone, so the whole issue gets bullied. And I think at the moment it would appear that the Anglophone part of Cameroon will have to seriously consider making their case or representations through ECOWAS, escalate to the African Union and perhaps to the UN Security Council, and then perhaps some sort of steady and systematic representation may get them somewhere.
Mr. Ongu, who do you think in the ECOWAS and the African community would support the Anglophones? Because what we saw in Western capitals in August anyway, the meetings to try and find a solution to this ended either in farce or turned violent.
When looking at on all the developments since 1 year that this crisis has re-emerged, I'm not sure that ECOWAS or even the African Union or Central Africa Community are better placed to address or to play a mediation role. Maybe they can accompany a kind of international community response. Even the secessionists themselves are calling much more the United Nations, which is the entity that has put together the Cameroon Anglophone and the Cameroon Francophone in 1961. One thing I wanted to come back on and to highlight is emphasizing and supporting what my predecessor have just said, that the crisis beginning worst when the government since October was denying the existence of the Anglophone problem. Further, we have seen the vague of repression and dismiss of all the Anglophone grievances, to the point that when the government started to address to some of the what were called technical grievances, it was too late and people were further radicalized. I think there is a need now to associate the Cameroon government with an international actor which is the most credible, and the Anglophone secessionists themselves are calling for the United Nations. Regarding the issue of the secession, of course, I think it is very unlikely that Cameroon will reach that step one day. But on the issue properly of federalism or the issue of effective and extended decentralization, I think there are things on which Anglophone, Francophone, and the international community can find a common ground. We at the International Crisis Group, in our last report, the August report, we advocated for an extension of an effective decentralization, which can be a solution at the same time good for Anglophone, but that the ground of Francophone can support, because some of the Francophone feel reluctant vis-à-vis the question of federalism, and the current government, the Biya government, is having its strength in the fact that Francophone some of them are rejecting federalism, and he has his popular ground on this basis. So maybe the effective decentralization and extending it, we can discuss later about the detail of what that means, can be a kind of in-between solution that can satisfy both sides within this crisis.
And until that happens, because that does seem a while away, Mr. Chinda, how worrying is the situation on the ground? Again, we've seen protesters killed. We are seeing the Committee to Protect Journalists saying that the government is using a 2014 anti-terrorism law to stifle dissent. We are once again seeing internet services cut. So where to from here right now to calm tensions before we can get to, any talk of decentralization or more federalism?
Well, the situation on the ground is deplorable because protesters are shot every day and so many of them are jailed and unaccounted for. So I think at this point, We really don't know what's going to be the next step in Cameroon, in the English-speaking regions. No idea if there will be more protests in the coming days or the coming months, but I think this is a moment where we have to reconcile. And we have heard the voices from the Anglophone community. I think, as my predecessor just said, decentralization shouldn't be a topic right now as a viable solution, because since 1996, we have a constitution on decentralization, but this has not been fully implemented. I think the Anglophone community would look stupid to accept an effective decentralization at this point. What the Anglophones would prefer is what worked before. What worked before was a federal system which could ensure equality and justice for every person. Because we need to remind everyone, back in the federal days, it was two people, two states equal. And today, the English community, the Anglophone community, has been dissolved into little regions with little or no autonomy. And I think that's the best solution. Because if we have to keep watching what's happening on the ground, people are going to keep dying and nothing is going to happen. And at the same time, people are being pushed to the extreme. Today we see a lot of bombings, and I don't think we agree that this is a good outcome of the situation. Secession is not going to be the best solution because it's going to bring us into a huge humanitarian crisis. Just a couple of days while the governor shut down the regions, we saw a mass exodus of people leaving, going to a safer haven in the Francophone regions. So just imagine we have a situation of some sort of war or problem. Just imagine the number of people who are going to be refugees. Imagine the number of people who are going to die. I don't think we want this situation. So the best solution right now is dialogue. And the best possible dialogue should happen on a fair table with the government of Cameroon and the secessionists and the federalists all talking to a mediator who is going to be neutral. I think the UN is going to be the best person to call upon. I hope they could listen to this call from the Anglophone community, and I hope the government could also stop the abuse on the community. A couple of days ago, a governor called the Anglophones dogs. I mean, all of this stigmatization helps in pushing the secessionists towards a legitimate reason. And I think it's time for us to reconcile, but on the basis of true dialogue.
Mr.
On the table.
Mr. Ongu, if I may bring you in here, who will represent the Anglophones in this true dialogue if the government was to agree to hold dialogue? They have jailed many of the most prominent representatives of the movement.
I think that's a key question, not just for us, but for the entire Cameroon. But there are still some who are outside the jail that the government has recently released, even if some of them have lost the very heavy popular support that they used to have to benefit in the past. The government is now like in the position of not having credible interlocutors with whom to discuss, as some are in jail, others are abroad in the US or in South Africa and other European and American countries. But we can still start to build with the federalists who have been released, who are present in Boya and other Anglophone towns. This can be a beginning of the solution regarding that.
All right, Mr. Ongu, thank you very much for that. And thanks to all our guests, Hans de Marie Ongu, Albert Chinder and Michael Amoa. And thank you too for watching. You can see the program again anytime by visiting our website, aljazeera.com. And for further discussion, go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also join the conversation on Twitter. Our handle is @AJ Inside Story. From me, Elizabeth Puranam, and the whole team here, bye for now.
Tension is still lingering in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Yaoundé has taken strong measures to prevent any demonstrations in the southwest and northwest regions during the weekend. Arrests, curfews, bullets. A deployment of the security forces did not prevent the gathering of small groups of separatists, whose leader, Sisiku Ayuk, symbolically proclaimed the independence of the two English-speaking regions on Sunday via social media networks. Here are the bullets with which they just killed our brothers with.
They kill our brother.
We wish to go up there and protest, for this is serious. It is already too much, the evil that they've done to us. We can no longer bear it anymore. It has gotten to the point of no return. In any way, they will give us our freedom, and we will succeed. The cost is worth it.
By force, anyhow we do, we'll give them.
Unconfirmed reports over the weekend put, however, the figure has been revised upwards, with reports of 15 deaths and hundreds of arrests also yet to be confirmed. The Cameroonian president, Paul Biya, has condemned these acts of violence on social media networks and called for dialogue. Cameroonians are very poor. If their children have no schools, no work, if their children are not able to seek treatment, if there is no equality between the rich and the poor, there will always be the Babenda. The Northwest, Anglophones and disputes must be rectified. Cameroonians are suffering. Calls for social justice are yet to be adhered in the English-speaking regions. Here, separatists say they are ready for anything to obtain their independence. Tension is still lingering in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Yaoundé has taken strong measures to prevent any demonstrations in the southwest and northwest regions during the weekend. Arrests, curfews, bullets. A deployment of the security forces did not prevent the gathering of small groups of separatists, whose leader, Sisiku Ayuk, symbolically proclaimed the independence of the two English-speaking regions on Sunday via social media networks.
Here are
the bullets with which they just killed our brothers with.
They kill our brother.
We wish to go up there and protest, for this is serious. It is already too much, the evil that they've done to us. We can no longer bear it anymore. It has gotten to the point of no return. In any way, they will give us our freedom, and we will succeed. The cost is worth it.
By force, anyhow we do, we'll give them.
Unconfirmed reports over the weekend put the death toll at 8. However, the figure has been revised upwards, with reports of 15 deaths and hundreds of arrests also yet to be confirmed. The Cameroonian president, Paul Biya, has condemned these acts of violence on social media networks and called for dialogue. Cameroonians are very poor. If their children have no schools, no work, if their children are not able to seek treatment, if there is no equality between the rich and the poor, there will always be the Babenda. The Northwest, Anglophones and disputes must be rectified. Cameroonians are suffering. Calls for social justice are yet to be adhered in the English-speaking regions. Here, separatists say they are ready for anything to obtain their independence.
Of Fontem, Lebialem, and Menzi precisely. They are moving from the central deal to the SDO. You can see them in numbers. More than 5,000 people here. They are moving to the SDO, of which the SDO has ordered his military people, respecting the people and by sending down the flag of La Republic to Cameroon. You can see them. You can see them. They are uncountable in their numbers. You can see there yourself. It's being led by women. women singing Soil of Liberation, that they must phobia must leave their territory. You can see them moving ahead, moving. This is the population with their flag or with their peaceful plan, peaceful march past. You can see the population that are ongoing to the SDO's office, to the SDO office. You can look at them in numbers uncountable. They are going on their numbers. Look at your people going. The SDO office, I don't know what they are going there to do, but with these numbers, we can see that the people are really fighting for their freedom. Look at them in numbers. Look at them in numbers. With children not in their presence. Nobody is among these people less than 20 years of age. Look at them in numbers. They are discussing. Look at now, looking for their spokesman to go and present a message to the SDO's office. Thank you.
Yes, this is Menchi in Lebialem. You can see the population here in Menchi. They are in their hundreds, in thousands. You are dancing. Shift over Lebialem. You can see the hundreds in their peace plans. And they are preparing for traditional dances. The flag has been hosted already in the Chief's Palace. The celebration for the Independence Day of Southern Cameroons. In fact, again was celebrated after 56 years in the slavery. You can see the population is endless. You can't even see where it's ending. There's just so many people. You can see the joy, the jubilation, the enthusiasm. Moved by this, you can see the people dancing. You can see the people jubilating for a free Southern Cameroons. The mixed traditional heritage of the people of Southern Cameroons. Today is a day worth celebrating here in the building.
Right, it's time now for Focus, and today we have a report on the tensions in Cameroon's English-speaking regions. Anglophones say they're being treated as second-class citizens. Lawyers were the first to take action, protesting against the use of French in courts. Then, teachers went on strike. Last month, several people were killed during a protest in Bamenda, the country's largest Anglophone city. And that's where our report begins.
From the hills above the valley, the breathtaking view of a defiant city. Bamenda, the capital of one of the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon, is now under the supervision of special police protection units. Armed patrols in a city at the epicenter of an unprecedented contestation, still bruised after several days of rioting. In this amateur video shot by protesters, flames of anger rise above the city. At the head of the procession, one of the leaders of the protest, Mancho Bibixi, the mouthpiece of these Anglophone protesters, a linguistic minority in an officially bilingual country. A few days later, freed after being arrested, he's still determined to fight in the name of the 20% of Anglophones that feel marginalized by Francophones. Living in a centralized state is out of the question for this activist.
Either they give us a federation, which means that the Anglophone population will have their own parliament. They will have a prime minister. And the same thing will be for the Francophone population. And they will live together. We can elect our mayor, we elect our governor, and we stay together. If they don't want to give us that, then they should allow us go. Let Anglophones go their way and form their own state. Let Francophones stay in La République.
The English school system on a month-long strike is at a standstill, demanding a federal state with an autonomous English language administration. Wilfred Tassang, leader of a powerful teachers' union, is in a standoff with the government after he decreed the closure of schools.
That's my brother.
A directive that was widely followed, like at this school. For him, there's no backing down without obtaining linguistic preference for English teachers.
Our grievances have to do with the fact that the government is training and sending Francophone teachers to teach Anglophone children. And to us, the word we use is that they unteach the children, they destroy the children, because they teach them in a language that is neither English nor French.
On the surface, things seem to have returned to normal in Bamenda, but so far, no agreement's been reached between the Cameroonian government and the Anglophone protesters. Relative calm has returned in the streets despite a burdening tension in the air in this historic opposition stronghold. A few kilometers from the city, an immense estate belonging to the man regarded as the richest of Cameroon, a billionaire Anglophone, reputedly close to the government. A quiet entrepreneur involved for several days in discreet negotiations to avoid further escalation of the Anglophone crisis. The red line: absolutely no federalism in a country with nearly 300 local languages and almost as many ethnic groups.
Federalism is not possible at all. It's not possible. I cannot even write it down. It's not possible at all. We are beyond that now, long time. It's not possible. When anybody who is asking for federalism, really he doesn't like this Cameroon.
Federalism, a political system applied in the country after the French and English tutelage between 1961 and 1972, dates back to the reunification of the two Cameroons. A united republic, never accepted by this small group advocating the secession of the Anglophone region. An illegal organization, according to Cameroonian law, sporting a forbidden secessionist flag.
Freedom! Thank you. No, what did you do? No, what did you do? First order.
Yes. We want Cameroonians to be free. Yes. Saudi Cameroonians. Yes. If Mr. Biya wants us to be free, yes. Let us bring back marketing boats. Yes. Let us bring back our prisoners back. Yes. Let him come for negotiation table. Yes. We want Ambazonians to be free. Yes. We are not surrounded by the French. Yes. We don't have roads. Yes. We don't have bush schools. Yes. We don't have good education. Yes. We have unemployment. Yes. We want Ambazonians to be free. Yes. We the youth of Saudi Cameroon. Yes. We are fighting for our rights. Yes. We want America. Yes. United Nations. Yes. Great Britain. Yes. Northern Ireland. Yes. Germans. Yes. England. Yes. They should come together to rescue us. Yes.
Suffer plenty for picking them. The children come out for road. Yes. Because in Nafai I born. Na my old bis. Na my contact this. Yeah, Papa.
Okay. So
far too much. So far for picking. So far. Because my picking now the work. I mean, my picking now work for again. I now the work again. Yes. But I want to start saying for public if I move small cocoa, I said they bear for me.
Money no vede. Money no vede. Money no vede. Money no vede. Once again, and the African Union, that we are not ready to die. Let them liberate the people. The people want to be liberated. An Englishman is a gentleman. We are asking for gentility. As a white man, we don't want war. We are asking for our liberation. Thank you.
We need our freedom. I want to fight my right. But they want to do me. Let us go. For power live. They are just we need freedom. We need freedom. We need freedom. Order first, order. We need freedom. my dog.
None of us, we are not afraid. We have come to the final end to take our independence by force.
So where I go now? We want to have a deal office. They don't go. We go to start to take us or asking them. We want a peace.
Mancho BBC must go out today. Mancho BBC Southern Cameroonians arrested. Cameroonians must be released. We are not We are not under the Republic of Cameroon. And so we are willing to say it's a peaceful revolt because we need our freedom. Yeah, we need our freedom. Us, the broadband, the white violence, we will take that violence because many have died and we are willing to die. We lost our system.
God is angry. Yes, very bad.
Yes, go on.
Anything but freedom.
We need freedom, God.
God has freedom. Okay, until this matter is settled to the end, before any school can resume in this Southern Cameroon. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Time long reach. We need freedom. Freedom we need. Liberty we need. We need
freedom and we need employment.
Employment under which government?
Fighting for their freedom in the name of Jesus. We shall conquer. Ambazonia, fighting for their freedom in the name of Jesus. We shall conquer. Ambazonia, fighting for their freedom in the name of Jesus. We shall conquer. Ambazonia, fighting for their freedom in the name of Jesus. We shall conquer. Amazonia, fighting for their freedom in the name of Jesus. We shall conquer. Amazonia, fighting for their freedom.
We need to maintain our culture and tradition that we inherited from our brother master Britain. We need them. Information they have.
10 years today, president cannot address a nation. 10 years, a president cannot address a nation. For almost 25 years now, I don't know how a day looks like. I have certificate, no job. Where is this nation going to? Are we going to die? No.
It is our duty. We will keep resisting them until our freedom is restored. Ambazonia has rise. One nation, united as one, we will conquer. This is Ambazonia.
One destiny. Today mark about a year since the project started. The rest of state is not doing anything to solve the problem. We should not decide to come out massively.
But we will keep resisting them.
Today is about freedom. We should declare freedom in Ambazonia land. It's the capital of Ambazonia. Today is the end. Mr. Amdia give up the freedom. We marry it for 55 years under marginalization. Today we are free. Ambazonia, oh yeah?
Good afternoon. What is going on the street of Boya?
Voila. I'm just from my house. I wanted to come to the street.
Every man who knows English, man go try.
I'm just from my house to come to the street. I saw the children where they went. They send them back home. That they should not go to school again. And it is true. Man like that, I'm standing here like this. My son is in Kuno Titi, going nowhere. He's in the house, and I cannot be doing driving the taxi. They paid me 25,000 pounds, nothing. So I need the country to be changed. They will pay me 40,000 for my job. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
You know what?
Mutengene. Na Mutengene, this so boy. No easy. Live Mutengene. This is live video Mutengene. Live from Mutengene. That's live from Mutengene. This is Mutengene. This is Mutengene talking. You can see little children out of school, fighting for their freedom, their rights.
The people at the, you can see even at the gendarmerie, the Ambazonia flag is right off, flying. The people say no to the forces of the La Republique. Look at the people. This is interesting. Right at the gendarmerie, condemn. This is serious. The Ambazonia flag flying right up. They have taken over their place by themselves. You can see this is the state of Kendem with the Ambazonia flag right up, and the military men, the La Republique slaves are all escaped. You can see the entire Kendem is right here. I don't know who is right and who is wrong. Some people have taken advantage. The Okada that were seized, they have seized it by themselves. Power belongs to the people. Ambazonia is rising to fall no more. the entire community of Kendem. This is unbelievable. The people have never behaved like this. If you see them, it means that they are very serious and determined. You see mothers, children, fathers, elders, and all the rest. They are just from the gendarmerie, and they said the power belongs to them and not La Republic. This is the man behind the camera reporting right direct from the Republic of AMBAZONIA. You see the people have just come up, they are coming out from the gendarmerie brigade, and they are saying that gendarmerie is not part of the force of La Republic of AMBAZONIA. That is not their force and they don't want it any longer here. And everyone that was locked up there has been released because Amba land is a free land.
Wow. When I see when I saw PG, I never imagine that day. That great day where that trumpet will sound. That great day where army will be for external affairs. Oh yes. That great day where army will be to protect we. Not be for burn our houses there. That great day where police not will be for referee. That great day where they not go there to kill you. That great day where they will listen to we when we talk. We will see that day. That great day where that trumpet will sound. The day where Peking will use his sense be president. Not be bribe. We not go see that day. I go see that. All we see that day. I did to imagine how that day would be when we will finally be free. I did imagine. If we will celebrate this great day, if we will celebrate this one like this, how that day would be. And the one who will not pray. Me or we pray. Me we will not stand our hands in. For see that day. For sure me I will see that day. Who will see him again? I will see him. I will see
We have Crown Cisco as our president. As our president, we have Crown Cisco. We have Crown Cisco as our president. We have Crown Cisco. We have Crown him as our president.
We have crowned him, crowned him, crowned him.
We have crowned him as our president. We have crowned Cisco as our president. As our president, we have crowned Cisco as our president. Then we have crowned Cisco as our president. We have crowned him, crowned him, crowned. We have crowned him as our president. We have crowned him, crowned him, crowned. We have crowned him as our president. We have crowned Cisco as our president. As our president. We have crowned him, crowned him, crowned. We have crowned him as our president. We have crowned him, crowned him, crowned. We have crowned him as our president. Until I reach for you. Until I reach for you. I will never, never,
We can never be intimidated by the police. We are taking phone. Church. Independent. Go. That independent na today go start. That independent na today go start. Yes. That independent na today.
The people chasing the police officers and they don't want them to disturb a peaceful protest. The people are chasing the voice of the people.
Yes, this is Menchi in Lebialem. You can see the population here in Menchi. They are in their hundreds, in thousands. You can see they are dancing. Shift down on Lebialem. You can see the hundreds in their peace plants. And they are preparing for traditional dances. The flag has been hosted already in the Chief's Palace. The celebration for the Independence Day of Southern Cameroons. In fact, they day was celebrated after 56 years in the slavery. You can see the population is endless. You can't even see where it's ending. There's just so many people. You can see the joy, the jubilation, the enthusiasm. Moved by this, you can see the people dancing. You can see the people jubilating for a free Southern Cameroons. The mixed traditional heritage of the people of Southern Cameroons. Today is a day worth celebrating here in the building.
After spending over 2 hours at the residence of the Senior Divisional Officer for Menua Division in the West Region of Cameroon, Southwest Governor Mr. Bernard Okaliabila is heading to Lebialem Division for the installation of the new Senior Divisional Officer for that division. Security is top on the agenda, and the Rapid Intervention Battalion B is leading the convoy. Just after Alo, the Southwest Governor's convoy is halted for the combat-ready security forces to scan the environment, and everywhere was seemingly quiet. But in Tinlewo village, the atmosphere was different.
Are you serious on the attack now? You're under attack? That's bullet you're getting in the background. We have been attacked here. We are just in Tinlewo now.
Governor Bernard Okaliabila of the Southwest region came under attack. From the bushes, the unidentified armed men rained down bullets on the Southwest Governor's convoy from the surrounding forested hills. Security forces responded immediately, and the gun battle lasted for some few minutes.
We are driving out of Leo now. A while ago, the governor's convoy was almost halted. Of course, we witnessed some exchange of fire between the security forces and unknown armed civilians. We have not seen them, but we
felt their impact. We are still having some couple of minutes to get to Menji, chief town of the Bialem division. The convoy finally made its way to Menji, chief town of the Bialem division. The town of Menji is not the same again. Menji is now having a picture of a war zone. At the senior divisional officer's office, marks of the 22nd March attack on Mr. Ongito Zakari, the then senior divisional officer for the Bialem division, was very visible. His official car was heavily chopped by bullets from the unidentified armed men. Judging from the damages, some military sources revealed that those who must have inflicted such damages are heavily sophisticated. It was during this attack that a delegate was killed and Mr. Ongito Zakari seriously wounded.
This is your new senior divisional officer, Mr. Senior Divisional Officer Eta Ashu Mbokaya. Take command.
After the installation of Mr. Eta Bokaya Ashu as the senior divisional officer for the Bialem division, the Southwest Governor, Mr. Bernardo Kaliabilai's convoy is heading back to Boya via the West region and just ascending Lewo village again. The Southwest Governor came under a more serious attack that lasted longer than the previous. Dangerous. This is the second time. It was in this same place when we were going that this convoy was attacked. Same in that same spot in Lewo, the convoy again has been attacked. They are getting the sound. One fire may change between the security forces and armed civilians. Fire that will make it alive. We are zipping out of the Bialem division now, and following the security situation, it is on record that the Southwest Governor's convoy was attacked twice, of course along the Chang Menji Road, specifically in Lewo. We have managed to forge our way through thanks to the heavily security deployment over here. I am Derek Jato on the security situation along the Chang Menji Road for Equinox Television News.
The grieving of a family and a community faced with the unbearable image of a mother and her two children buried in one coffin. There was not enough money to buy three. Here in Nigeria, around 5,000 English-speaking Cameroonian refugees took part in the funeral of 8 members of the same family. They are believed to have died of carbon dioxide poisoning. Barnabas's wife is one of the victims. He tells us that most had just arrived in the area of Ikom from Cameroon after fleeing fighting in their villages.
It was because of this problem of Cameroon that most of them, they joined us here. They were just living here with me, the entire family. I'm so sorry that God who brought them to this world actually returned them back.
Not far away, on the other side of the border, the victims' home village is now controlled by Cameroonian soldiers. 8 months ago, Dadi was secessionist stronghold. Today, most locals are gone. The army suspected many of being accomplices of armed separatists.
The village is deserted because the inhabitants are accomplices. If they were innocent, they could have given us information about the secessionist fighters. Now they are gone. We even want them to come back, but they don't want to.
But fighting between the military and separatists continues, and it is too dangerous for refugees in Nigeria to return. 80% of those living in camps like these are women and children. The Aya Foundation is one of the few Cameroonian NGOs offering aid to traumatized people.
The first and second visits were not easy. The gun trauma,
The burning of the house is a trauma. That trauma was so fresh in them. You could not even see a gleam of smile. But now you can see around, the children are really smiling and they are happy.
The Anglophone crisis continues to escalate in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Every day, more people arrive in Nigeria having fled violent turmoil. For the most part, their futures remain precarious.
This is the Agbokim River, which separates Nigeria from Cameroon. Over the last year, thousands of people fleeing the violence in Cameroon have crossed over from the far side to take up places in refugee camps here in Nigeria. The Agbokim waterfall, it's normally a beauty spot, but for the past year it's been a place where thousands of Cameroonian refugees have crossed over in search of safety. This is a stretch of the Trans-African Highway running through the forests of southeast Nigeria. On one side is Cameroon's English-speaking minority, who've long complained of being treated as second-class citizens. On the other side is Cameroon's Francophone government, who've sent in troops to quell the English speakers' campaign for independence.
I left Cameroon because of the crisis there. The soldiers came to my village and they shot 4 of my friends, and we ran to the forest, and when we came back to look for food after 1 week or so, 2 girls were being shot by the Cameroon soldiers.
This is the Ogoja refugee camp in Nigeria, which is currently home to about 3,000 Cameroonian refugees. This is one separatist fighter who is now in Nigeria, who agreed to talk on condition that his identity be kept secret.
The first battle I went into was very, very horrible, because most of the guns were homemade guns and they used superior weapons to fight us, so we were really, really killed. So we used those guns to defend our families and loved ones.
What is the aim of the fighters now for the future?
We just need separation. We want to be separated from the French. They are really treating us bad.
Many of the refugees in the camp are now building temporary homes for themselves. If the war in Cameroon carries on much longer, some of these homes may become permanent.
On the occasion of the 1st of October 2019.
Nothing is quite what it seems in Cameroon. This is the separatist area, AMBAZONIA they call it. The government soldiers are on red alert. They face constant attacks from the separatists here, and 500,000 civilians have upped and fled their homes.
There's another town that's abandoned. it's quite astonishing, just town after town, either trashed or abandoned or both.
We've gained rare access to the Cameroon military. The soldiers are regularly accused of brutality.
Any Amba boy.
They're trying to quash an often savage armed insurgency. They want independence for the minority English-speaking Anglophone areas, severing ties with the majority French-speaking government.
Till you bury the last one. Till the last one is buried. Amba.
The fighting's led to terrible destruction, and all too often the soldiers are seen as the enemy.
How do we know the army did not do this?
For which reason? For which reason?
Because they don't like the Anglophone people, the secessionists? That's what they're saying.
Anglophone?
Yeah.
I'm still asking, who is Anglophone in Cameroon? I'm speaking English. I'm Anglophone. If you are here today, it's for the welfare, for the well-being of your family, isn't it?
Mm.
Then why will you destroy what you have earned with so difficult? You are risking your life here.
But in this footage, soldiers are clearly seen setting homes alight. They've been accused of torturing and executing villagers to crush the separatist movement. Claims the military insists are all staged for use on social media.
I'm telling you again that we might not be saints, we are not, but we do our best so the population understands that we are with them and we have come here not only to defend them, to encourage them to develop themselves.
The soldiers take us to a hospital which was set on fire. Huge sections have been destroyed.
This is the theatre. It's cinders.
At least 4 patients died in their beds as the flames swept through the wards. With the soldiers all around us, the director says she's been told the separatists started it. But footage at the time shows soldiers standing by watching as the fire raged, leading to suspicions over exactly who was responsible.
We have police officer who was murdered, beheaded by secessionists.
The military presents us with hours of material which they say documents atrocities by the separatists. Most is too gruesome to broadcast. We're shown decapitated soldiers, their genitals cut, limbs amputated. Most of this has been uploaded on websites run by separatists. In this video, the man's accused of spying for the military. His beating and torture ends in execution. Again uploaded on social media and stoking more fear.
Yes, not a motor that.
Whilst we're in the area, a truck loaded with aid for displaced civilians is set alight by the separatists, the food destroyed. There are terrible human rights abuses on both sides in this conflict. Fingers and limbs are cut off as punishment for ignoring the separatist boycott of government businesses.
You're not going to work?
Yes. I'm a security guard with CDC. So since by then up to now, I'm not going to job again because I'm afraid.
Separatist fighters who've apparently handed themselves in echoed the military's view, perhaps unsurprisingly given the close army observation.
We're fighting because our brothers in the diasporas.
This is the Waterfall County incumbent subdivision. They are telling Bia that enough is enough. They are telling him that for long is not forever. The time has come for our restoration. We must be all arrested. This is the message of the Ambazonians.
The struggle definitely continues. As a people, we have to keep on struggling because it has shown over time in this country, in history, that for us to get anything in this country, we have to fight for it, which is something which is shocking and is stunning to us. Why do people need to be killed? Why do we need to go to the street for us to have a GC board, for us to have the University of Boya, for them to start talking about reforms in the
on va t'identifier. Tout le monde est descendu. Good morning. Good morning.
Yes. Because in Nafoya I born. Mama always. Mama can't this. Yes, Papa.
Okay, so
over too much. Over too much. So far, because my pikin is not the worker. I mean, my pikin is not work for again. I still not the work again. Yes. But I want to start for public if I move smoke. I said that they bear for me.
Money no vede. Money no vede. Money no vede. Money no vede. People can do what has been done to our children in West Cameroon. I call it West Cameroon because you will never take it out of our mouths again, because that is a territory in which we believe in freedom. To go out on the street and demonstrate is a basic right for us. And that is why we are saying that there are two Cameroons that came together. If you are telling us, like a state minister stood here last year and told us that what happened in Cameroon is like dropping a few cubes of sugar into a basin of water. Who is the sugar and who is the water? I'm asking the government bench of Cameroon, who is that you rape our children? My brother's daughter has been raped in Boya. I swear to you, the government of this country, does the president of this country know that the governors and the DOs and all the administrators you have sent to West Cameroon are out there behaving exactly like an army of occupation? Our people have nowhere to go. We have made all the efforts. Our ancestors and our forefathers trusted you to go into a gentleman's agreement that two people who considered themselves brothers could go to live together. If this is what you show us after 55 years, then those who are saying that we should break Cameroon are right. They are correct. The people of West Cameroon cannot be your slaves. The people of West Cameroon are not, you did not conquer them in war. If this is what you are saying that we should live in, I say simply, no, it will not work. How do you have an army that's supposed to protect children step out there, beat them, and rape some? It is not heard of in any country. This is the 21st century, and anybody who does that and cannot be willing for his government to pay the price, we will exact it on you. Because you are making us believe that we went to the wrong place. What is there to say? I want the world to know and to have it on record that we have made efforts. I have sat with ministers and listened to them talk. The first one was the then Minister of Justice, Amadou Ali, 10 years ago. And I took my time, drove from Kombo to Yaoundé to tell him something is brewing out there. This thing that you people are sending gendarmes to beat people up and say all of these things, there is pain in West Cameroon. And as Minister of Justice, be very careful. What happens there? And he turned around, looked at me, and told me, Mr. Wilbur, it is your people who choose to come here. He is alive. He told me. Last week, I went to see the Minister of Higher Education, Professor Famendongo, and I told him, the problems in Cameroon, the problem we have in West Cameroon is the problem that will bring down Cameroon. If you do not handle it well, you will not know Cameroon as it is in a few months or in a few years. When people have had pent-up anger and pain, humiliation, for over 50 years, when it bursts out, you will never be able to control it. And I told him. And simply what he asked me was, qu'est-ce que vous allez faire? Because you have your army of occupation out in West Cameroon, you believe that when the people will rise, even if you took the whole of the French army and added to yours, you will never bring them down. And we have no need for that.
We don't have any need for that in the 21st century. I was one of the believers in a unified Cameroon, and I want to tell this house that what has happened to those children in Buea University and in Bamenda has convinced me that the people who say Cameroon should go in two parts are correct. And there are more and more of us out there who now believe that it is the ultimate end. I listened the other night, an offer of 1,000 jobs, an offer of 2 billion francs for lay schools, and I laughed at myself. Are my people slaves? So you now take them to be your dogs, that you can beat and wound and maim, break their bones, then throw a piece of meat for them to fight over. It has to end. If we, the people of West Cameroon, have to continue doing what we are doing, it is because we believe that the more is always the merrier. When you have more people, you have more chances of surviving in life. If the more people who are the people of East Cameroon have proven to us that our blood means nothing, then it is time for us to say it will soon be over. I want to give you a quote here in this house that I borrowed from the American liberators. When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes a duty. The people of West Cameroon have a duty to resist your oppression. I call it oppression because of what I've seen in the field. Let me quote you another two instances. 3 weeks ago, there was an incident in Bangolan, which is a neighboring village to Jakiri, where I come from. And I don't know what it was about, and a gendarme officer was killed. And the forces of law and order, under the instructions of the SDO of Ngokitunya, move into Jakiri, a neighboring village, and take away 100 men. Just beat them up, break their bones, and then just leave them there. And I went to that place where he took these people, and I told him, Mr. SDO, you are going to release my people. He sent soldiers to me, and one of them told me, I said, I am the representative of these people because I'm a parliamentarian. And the young man turned around and asked me, "Et puis quoi? On n'est pas ici à Yaoundé." And he drew a line on the ground to tell me, if you cross here, you will see the consequences. Unfortunately for him, I happen to be a descendant of the warriors, so nobody draws a line before me. And I crossed, and I told him, shoot me. I told the SDO, release my people. In 12 hours, he released them. But some are still lying in the hospital. They beat and kicked a woman, and she miscarried, a pregnant woman. And nobody can question this. That is the reason in this master plan to finish our culture and our people. You have chosen that every single administrator or every commander of the army is from East Cameroon. That is why they sit there and they can kill the people without remorse. This has to end. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, I want to repeat this quote. When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes a duty. We, the people of West Cameroon, will resist you, and if you want to take that territory by force, you will kill to the last man before you take it. And you can start from me today. You can start from me. It has to end. Somebody has to know that this is not how you treat a people. 50 years is too long. 50 years is a very, very long time. And we come here and sit just talking about the budget. You normalize murder. You normalize rape. Mr. Speaker, I am sorry to tell you that this is part of the resistance. You will hear me to the end. When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes a duty. It is my duty to defend my people. You will not stop me because of lack of time. Or if you want to, you can call your brutal gendarmes to come and kill me here. I will not. I will not. I want you to hear this, Mr. Speaker, that my people are suffering, and that the cube of sugar that was defined in this house. Are you just angry, Mr. Speaker? that the person you considered your slave, a slave has risen in the master's house and is asking a question? I have. Mr. Speaker, I'm telling you, this is part of my resistance, and you will hear me to the end. Bring the brutal soldiers who raped our daughters to take me out of here. I will say it to my end. I will say it to the end. There is nothing you can do to me. I'm wondering whether His Excellency the President of the Republic knows that the governors and the DOs are behaving exactly when they are posted to West Cameroon as colonial masters. When they abuse people and insult them and do all they have done, we have to resist, and we have to tell you our people will not be brought down because we came into this union as equal partners. Yes, sir. And I am done. And I am done. And we will resist. And there is nothing you can do to stop us, because this is part of our culture that we inherited. You people who fear every administrator and every ruler, we challenge our rulers, we take them to task, and that is why they are accountable. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. Violence in English-speaking areas of Cameroon over the last year is having a knock-on effect in neighboring Nigeria, as thousands of refugees are seeking refuge in the country. Some are fleeing the unrest, while others who are suspected to be secessionists in favor of armed struggle could be using the Nigerian side of the border as a base. Most have fled across the border on foot through the bush since the start of an increased crackdown by authorities in the capital, Yaoundé. Cameroon was divided between French and British before independence in 1960, and English speakers account for 20% of the population of 23 million. In recent weeks, growing numbers have joined the ranks of secessionists, some of whom are openly advocating armed struggle for an independent state. Well, joining us now from our Abuja studios is the Communications Secretary of the South Cameroon Amazonia Republic, Mr. Chris Anu. Thanks for joining us on the program. Now, tell us about the agitation for an independent southern Cameroon.
Well, thanks again for having me. I heard you use the word secession or secessionist. It is very important that we understand that the Southern Cameroonians are not secessionists. Southern Cameroonians are not separatists. Southern Cameroonians are fighting the decolonization, because the Southern Cameroons has never, ever been part of Cameroon. I personally, I do not consider myself a Cameroonian. I consider myself an Ambazonian or a Southern Cameroonian. And so we are not secessionists, because if you look at our history, we joined the French-speaking part of Cameroon as an independent nation, just as they too were an independent nation. And we're interested to know that we were part of Nigeria. In 1953, our representatives walked out of the Eastern House of Assembly in Enugu and created the state of the Southern Cameroons. Between 1953 and 1961, the Southern Cameroons was self-governing. It was an independent state with a legislature, with a prime minister, with an educational system, with a legal system. In 1961, when we were supposed to join the French to become a federal state, it never happened, because there was never an act of union between English Cameroon or the Southern Cameroons and French Cameroon. And so when we say we are Southern Cameroonians, we are Ambazonians, we actually mean that we have never been part of the Republic of Cameroon. Now, going back to the crisis, what is going on is that on October 1st, we Southern Cameroonians will formally declare and restore the state of the Southern Cameroons. La République du Cameroon, which is French Cameroon, they've not been happy about this. And they are still living in dreamland. They're thinking that the Southern Cameroons will remain part of French Cameroon. And we have said no. And because we say no, La République du Cameroon has declared war on the southern Cameroons, and which is why you have now thousands of the southern Cameroons refugees flowing to Nigeria every day.
Now, in your advocacy for an independent Southern Cameroon, have you at any time made a case to the African Union and the United Nations?
We have actually made that case on several occasions. It will interest you to know that actually I think it was in 2009 or 2010 that the United Nations, the General Assembly President of the United Nations, presented two maps of the two Cameroons to the President of La République du Cameroon, who is Paul Biya. And the essence of those two maps was to let the President of Cameroon know that there are two Cameroons, the English or the Southern Cameroons and the French Cameroon, which is La République du Cameroon. At the African Union level, there is also a case that the Southern Cameroon has won against the French Cameroon, which also goes to strengthen the fact that the Southern Cameroons has never been part of French Cameroon.
Nigeria received some refugees from that area. Can you tell us what exactly is happening there that has led them to become refugees here in Nigeria?
Well, what is happening is that after October 1st, last year, 2016, the state of French Cameroon, or La République du Cameroon, declared war on the southern Cameroons, the Federal Republic of AMBAZONIA. The French Cameroon declared war on the southern Cameroons. Now, the part in which they declared immediate war has to do with the part that borders eastern Nigeria, the state of Cross River State, Akwa Ibom State, and so you find out that a majority of the people living in these areas had to vacate their towns and villages because the military in La République du Cameroon was unleashed to occupy a whole community. We're talking about a community of over 500,000 people. They burnt down houses. They killed people. They continue to kill people in their numbers. They burned down whole villages. In fact, what people do not understand is there is genocide currently, as I speak, going on in this part of Cameroon, being unleashed by the government of La République du Cameroon, headed by Paul Biya. So this is what is escalating the refugee crisis. The fact that war is ongoing in Cameroon, declared against Southern Cameroonians by the President of La République du Cameroon.
The Communications Secretary of the South Cameroon Ambazonia Republic, Mr. Chris Anu, many thanks for coming on Network Africa.
Love you. Thank you.
Deep in my heart, I do believe someday we'll all be free. Someday we'll all be free. I may not know Someday we'll all be free, learning to love. We'll find our way. Someday we'll all be free. 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 We shall overcome someday.
Love you. Thank you.
Deep in my heart, I do believe someday we'll all be free. Someday we'll all be free. I may not know how long 'twill be. Someday we'll all be free. Someday we'll all be free. Someday we'll all be free. Hold on, my brother, give me your hand. Someday we'll all Thank you very much.